Okay, red teacher's pen in hand. That means we're about to dig in and pull apart the psychology of another famous marketer's emails. And you probably know this guy. This is Dan Henry. He is one of the top marketers, one of the most amazing offer creators, and probably one of the best salespeople in the world. And he sent this email out, and it has some amazing psychology in it, like we can all definitely learn from. So I'm going to unpack all the psychology, and I'm going to show you the glaring mistake, the thing he didn't do, the thing he missed out and messed up, so that you don't make that same mistake as well. Are you ready to do it? I think we are. Red pen ready. Let's go.
The Email Marketing Show.
So yeah, Dan is one of the top marketers and salespeople in the world. He's out this really interesting, pretty awesome email. There's loads of psychology that we're going to get into. But here's what I want you to know before. It's like slight tangent before we get into it. And that is, look, Dan and I are actually friends. Like literally, and this is why it's important. Like we literally are friends. We WhatsApp. He lives in Dubai. I'm here in the UK. And just because we're friends doesn't mean I haven't spent money with Dan or he hasn't spent money with me. In fact, we consult with each other fairly regularly about the things that we're both specialists in. I've spent a lot of money with Dan. Dan spent money with me for our various expertise. And this is my little side rant saying, if you've got a friend who is brilliant at something and they can help you and they can bring value to any part of your life, whether it's your business or not, you should pay them. Right? You should absolutely pay. I absolutely believe in paying our friends. I did the exact same thing with Natalie Ellis from Boss Babe, who I've known for years because she lived like 20 minutes away from my house. But I flew to her house and paid her to have her attention and have her expertise for a day. That's what we should do with our friends. But anyway, that said, let's get into this email. Let's zoom it up a little bit. There's a lovely picture of Dan I found. So this is the email. And there's some great stuff in it. Let's get into the stuff that Dan did great, first of all. So the email says, a guy with over 500,000 followers read my new book, Big Fat Hooks. That's his promotion at the moment. Then messaged me saying he'd paid a copywriter $12K for the same type of hooks I put in a $17 book. So what is really amazing here is Dan is positioning his $17 book against a $12,000 consultant. And this is what's often known in marketing as apples to oranges comparisons, right? That's what we call it, apples to oranges. So rather than comparing it to a fiction novel or to a second-hand book, which might be like $5 or $6, we're comparing it to something that is way bigger price, way higher price, and therefore more valuable. The other problem we've got to deal with a $17 book, especially PDF books these days, is that we're often going to think of them as very low value. We're going to potentially think of them as, did ChatGPT just spit this garbage out? Because we've all bought those types of products recently, right? Or is it just not very good? Well, the way we have to position against that is we basically say, no, this is the same kind of stuff that somebody gave, like literally the same type of hooks in a $12K relationship that this person had with a copywriter. Now, I think I hurt his feelings a little. So again, we're talking about emotions, right? And obviously now the person thinking, yeah, I'd be really sore. I'd be really painful. I'd be in lots of pain if I'd paid 12 grand for some of the hooks that I could have got for $17, right? And then we get specific. This is where it gets really interesting. Dan then gets into specifics. He goes, it's 297 hooks. So now what we're doing is we're talking about quantity. Okay? How many of them? Because the objection here that we're handling is, well, will any of the hooks work for me, for my business, my situation, or my style? Well, we're going to fix that and overcome that with volume, with a quantity of them. Surely the belief in that person's head, the psychology in that person's head is, surely if there's 297 of them, I've got to be able to find some that are going to work for me. And then he goes on to quantify the quality of those things, which is that they are from the highest converting sales copy in modern marketing history. So these they are proven. And here's what's amazing. Today, right now, the problem is that most people, when they come to your your marketing, when they come to your offers, they are wondering, can I just get that information by asking AI? The way we have to adjust our offers in this year, in this month right now, is to show that what you're going to get is not the generic stuff which AI generates, which is essentially based on the average of everything else on the internet, and the average of everything is terrible. Who wants to be average and who wants to work with the average? But what we're actually showing here is it's based on the proven highest converting sales copy in modern marketing history. That is not something you can get from AI. This is a proprietary, I can't even say that word, proprietary. What is wrong with me? A proprietary methodology or proprietary bunch of information that only this person, in this case Dan, has access to, because they're the ones he has assembled. My coach and mentor, Todd Brown, did this amazing thing where he collected swipe files of all the most amazing direct response copy that he ever received through the mail for, like, I think it was a decade or maybe 2 decades, something like that. Like a decade. I think it was a decade. And he sold that swipe file. Again, it was a unique offer, and that's what Dan's creating here. And then it says, not theory, the actual hooks that generated millions. And then we are directly here. We're not saying that worked really well. We're saying what happened. They generated millions. And that outcome is a desirable outcome that our audience wants, which is generate more money. They might want millions, they might want tens of millions, they might want hundreds of millions, or they might just want a few 100,000, but it sets that up. Okay, all of that stuff is the good stuff. The other nice thing here is that the implied story here is that Dan talks to people. Dan is a perception of accessible because he got a message from this guy and Dan took it to heart. He thinks about it. He's not the kind of person where we've met a lot of people on the internet where they just sell you a thing and you can't get in touch with them and they don't even care what you think. This shows that Dan is human and has these elements. So that's all great. So what were the missing things? Well, there's one tiny thing, we're going to get into the big thing in a second, is this, unfortunately, that is called an M dash. And whether you're one of those people who's very good at English and you use the M dash correctly, like some of my friends do, unfortunately, that's been beaten out of culture by the fact that it is also a trope of AI. So when people say an M dash, they immediately think, especially at the end, they read all the way through this, and then they get to an M dash, and they go, oh, damn it, I've just been let down. This was probably, not definitely, written by AI. Now, I'm not saying this was written by AI. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't asked Dan. But the presence of an M dash or one of those AI tropes immediately lets people, it actually undoes the implied story of this email, which is Dan is very real. And one of the things we need to be doing in our email marketing at the moment is showing that we are human. Even if we are using AI either to write our emails or just for idea generation, but we need to be showing ourselves as human. So what is the major blunder here? What is the major screw up? Well, the big opportunity for improvement here is actually around making it more believable. Because we live in a world right now of high skepticism, which might not be how you spell skepticism. I'm dyslexic, but I chose to spell it live in front of you for the shits and giggles. You're welcome. So the high skepticism. So what we have to do is use my framework. We have to use my SIPPY framework, and it stands for say it, prove it. If you say something, you have to prove it. And so how do we say it and prove it? Okay. A guy with over 500k followers read my new book, Big Fat Hooks. Great. So we've got specificity, because specificity is one of the best ways of proving something without having to use before and after pictures or screenshots and stuff like that, which you can do as well, right? So one great way that Dan could have made this more believable would have been to insert an image of the screenshot of the guy asking the question. Maria Wendt does this brilliantly in her emails. She often will grab screenshots of stuff, just in her ads as well, right? The second thing that we can do is be specific. And the specificity could have been the name of the guy. if you can't say the person's name, you could say just their first name. So, for example, it could have been Sean from somewhere. I don't know. Sean from Newcastle, which is where I live, right? Sean from Newcastle wrote, Sean from Newcastle with over 500,000 followers. Again, more specificity in the, and then the name of the niche. Okay? All this stuff makes it sound like it is real. And it also tells us this was not written by AI, which is a thing we have to fight against these days. It says it's not written by AI because AI wouldn't know that. Or it could know that if you fed in all your case studies, but it's much more specific. And when we're specific, that builds actual pictures up inside of people's minds, and they can visualize it. And when they visualize it and they see the pictures and they're in the sort of movie that you're building in their minds, they start to feel something. And when they feel, they can make decisions. And because people can't decide until they can't decide until they feel things, right? And they can't buy things until they make a decision, whether that's to buy or not to buy, right? And that is the question, to buy or not to buy. So then he messaged me saying he paid a copywriter, I would have maybe put in the year. Just again, I'm thinking about specifics, because it's these specifics that whenever you see a movie or whenever you see a TV show, when you ever see a really good bit of writing in a novel or something, it's the specifics that really build up the picture. It's 297. So that's the main things. It's all about let's get specific. And I see this all the time in most people's emails. Now, if you're thinking, this is great, and you're watching this right now and you're thinking, I really want more of this. First of all, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you get more of these in your newsfeed. Less than half of the people who watch my content actually are subscribed to the channel, which is crazy to me. So hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future of these things, because every week I release multiple bits of content which will help you to make more sales from the emails you're already sending, from the subscribers that you already have. We're going to make more sales just by using these tips. Also, by hitting subscribe right now, you're letting me know that you're enjoying this content, and I'll keep making more stuff like this. Now, if you're like, I want to see more of these kind of breakdowns, well, I'm going to start doing more of them. And I already did another one of these with one of Tacky Moore's emails. So if you want to see me absolutely rip apart one of Tacky Moore's emails, go check this video out, and I'll see you over there.